perception of sight is being distorted by something else. It could be environmental based, it could be, clouds, it could be whatever. So you cannot perceive 20 miles out on to the ocean per se because there is an environment that exists between you and that 20 miles. So your actual vision is probably about 4 or 5 miles before you start seeing ships depart off of the horizon. But it's not because of the curvature, it's just due to the amount of just things in the air that you see.
So
But the
then
true
why are you
distance of the
saying when you
curvature
were
drop
under
off is
cruise?
20 miles.
Why are you saying when you were under cruise, the land disappeared due to curvature and not just due to the environment?
Because, like I said, there were binoculars on the ship that I could look back out on. So when we were coming and arriving to Cozumel and whatever, I could see the land approaching. They just give you that ability to be like, oh, look out in the ocean, look and see. And as we were out in the middle of the ocean, I tried to look around on these binoculars that should have amplified my vision, allowing me to see further and or beyond what my normal eyes could see. And the land was just not there. It was beyond the Earth's curvature.
Okay.
So I don't see that as being the same as using audio because if I can create a tool that allows me to hear things I can't hear, then I should be able to create a seeing tool that allows me to see further than I normally would be able to, but you can't see beyond the curvature of the earth. At that point, you're looking off into the sky because the earth has a curvature to it. We're only limited to seeing that sky at 3 to 4 miles just because of natural light pollution, evaporation of the ocean or whatever some case, depending on where you may be.
So
If you're
what I'm
looking out on
hearing,
top of Mount Everest, though, you'll be able to see more than 20 miles. You'll be able to see, I forget how many miles. Go ahead, I apologize.
yeah, I lost my train of thought. I, I was gonna say something about what I've observed of what you've been saying and like a specific perspective you have, but it's just, yeah, I've lost it now. But
Sorry, but
we're
yeah,
we're
at sea level,
definitely communicating
go
on
ahead.
different wavelengths. So what do you think the main thing between this conversation? What do you think the biggest clutch between what you're saying and what I'm saying is?
I don't know. I don't know. You're stating that you went out on a specific voyage based on your research and you learned something. I believe just based on my observation, even though I didn't go out and do research, this is what I perceived based on mine own eyes, and then based on the facts that have been given to me through my own research, knowing how the Earth's curvature is, and we just can't get to the same conclusion. And I don't know why that is. That's why people do experiments to try to get the same results to determine which one's more accurate. We're just not at that point. It's where that we agree to disagree. I'm not saying your experiments were wrong, but maybe based on what you did versus based off of what I did in my observation were just different. And then based on the facts that I have decided to accept as true, it makes sense to me. And there are certain facts that I believe to be true that you don't believe to be true that doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. It's just that that's not your observation or belief in that aspect. Our
I
observation we're
found
coming from two different
in
standpoints.
our conversation, I've noticed you seem very much like in the globe model, it gives you limitations. Once a certain distance is reached, you won't see something, and therefore, when you jump into the idea of the Earth not being a globe, then you're sort of taking away limits, as if there's no more limits on site. Now, if we just keep making tools on a flat Earth, we could essentially see as far as we could see if we just make tools. But I think that's a bit unrealistic. There's still limits and thresholds that we can't engineer our way out of in this flat or a globe.
Yeah, she's saying that there's other limitations to vision. I guess you're ascribing whatever you saw to curvature when there can be other explanations for it. I actually missed the beginning of what he was claiming that he saw.
No, I get what she and the same as that instance, binoculars don't allow me to see through clouds either. So, I didn't have true instruments that would allow me to be able to see beyond what our normal eyes would allow us to see. If there's atmospheric interference, binoculars is not going to be able to see through that without giving me some other third party abilities like infrared or something like that. And I didn't have that. So I can't say based on my observation that that is solely true. I just believe it to be true based on the facts that I understand that I believe in, excuse me, not that I understand, the facts that I believe in, it just makes sense. So, like I said, we're at an impasse in regards to, I guess, the whole curvature thing because you're saying you observed something and witnessed something, and I'm telling you that there's tools that have been created to do such said things, but I've not personally experienced or used those tools to say that my answer is definitively true. I'm just going based off of the fact that the Earth is a globe, and
The
this is
main
what
thing
I perceived based on what I know.
is I'm I'm suggesting that limits to our visibility is due to environmental things and perspective, whereas you're pinning it on the curvature of the Earth. And yeah, that's our impasse. Anyway, I do have to
So
get
you
back to
don't
work.
think there are tools? Okay, have a good day.
There are definitely tools, but still limits. We can't play God and just make some impossible thing possible. So there's tools you can improve your vision, but you'll still reach limits. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna head off now, but it was nice talking to you and
Nice
enjoy
talking to you
the
too.
everyone.
Thanks, Stacy. Great to hear from you.
Bye, Stacy.
Yeah, I mean, while you were talking there, I guess what I mean, there's a few things here. You did admit there that you're presupposing the globe. So, because you're assuming there's a globe, you're saying that curvature is causing the visual effects that you're seeing, whereas there are other explanations. So, for that reason, the curvature, I mean, your observation does not prove because there could be other explanations